Finally, I write in the book about 3 separate groups that were camping on the Green River, which is a river about 12 or 13 miles to the north of the volcano. On the west side, there was a group of about 6 kids, we call them millennials now, in their 20s, from the Longview area, who were just up there doing the kinds of things that we used to do when we were kids at the volcano, drinking beer and roasting corn on the cob and steaks and things like that. On the eastern side of the Green River, there were 2 friends named Clycroft and Al Handy, who had ridden their horses up a ridge line the day before and were camped on the Green River. And right between them was a family, the Moores, Mike Moore and his wife Lou, and they had a 4-year-old daughter Bonnie and a 3-month-old baby named Tara. The Moores were taking their girls on their very first camping trip. I'll tell you a little more about the Moores in a minute. On Sunday morning, May 18th, the sun rose at 5:36 into a completely cloudless sky. On the ridge just to the north of Mount St. Helens, Dave Johnson took some measurements of the distance of the bulge. First of all, the bulge expanded, and then it contracted a little bit. And then at 8:32 that morning, something in the mountain gave way. There were a couple of geologists who, there's a lot of amazing coincidences about Mount St. Helens, but one is that there were these 2 geologists who were just happened to be flying over the mountain at this exact moment. And what they said they saw is that they saw this sort of crack appear on the mountain, this line from east to west, and the whole north side of the mountain just started cascading down. And and so this avalanche had finally occurred, but out of where the avalanche was came this gigantic cloud of sort of a gray and white cloud, and this thing expanded just as possibly as you can imagine. I mean, they barely got away. The pilot of this Cessna put it into a steep dive and went off to the south to be able to get away from this cloud. And then they turned around and looked back up at the volcano and saw this immense column of ash that was rising up just full of lightning. That's how many people describe the ash. But it all happened in silence. It was like watching a silent movie. You just couldn't, the sound of the volcano went straight up and was muffled by the ash, and so there was no sound for anybody who was right around the volcano.